Hey y'all, welcome back to another segment. Our day two trial continues. Best friend accused of unaliving 18-year-old Lori Lane. Okay, that the guy who was accused in this case is a very good friend of Lori. Okay, I don't know if they say they go together or not. I'm just gonna respect them. Okay. All right. Let's take a look at this trial, and after that, we'll give our reaction. Okay.
I worked Southside in that area my entire career, so I was very familiar with that park, and I knew that there was a break in the fence right there to get to where the complainant was.
And the complainant, you're referring to the gentleman who called 911?
Correct. Cars parked on the street, the closest and easiest entrance is from where we left. Yeah, definitely like a 10-7. Our cars parked on the street, the closest and easiest entrance is from where we walked in. Yeah, I see it. You guys just hang out back over here real quick? Huh? Yeah, I know. Just hang out back here in case if there's something going on, okay? Yeah. 240 on the radio. Looks like signal 38, gonna 1012 for FD to confirm.
You just used a lot of there. Exactly what did you tell the dispatcher?
Signal 48 is person dead. 1012 is will stand by for FD to arrive to confirm. She's cold. Alright, let's get some crime scene tape. I don't have them. Okay. Two 230. 231 has to reflect some force trauma to the head. Can we get a unit that has crime scene tape? Alright, if you guys don't mind just going back to the parking lot for me, we'll just hang out and we'll have some officers meet with you, okay?
Okay.
Thank you guys. Alright. So she, is obviously going through her body camera. No, you're good. So she's obviously 48. What we're gonna do is we're gonna have to get their information because they were in the area of the crime scene and they found her. You want me to we will stay here. But This is Hoskins gets to start setting up crime scene thing. They're gonna start out big. So she's in underwear and slides. So she's in some comfy clothes. People do come to the park to do. So, but she has had to be here for a minute.
Yeah,
You know.
Got that girl leaning up there.
Workforce is with a gunshot. I don't see a weapon, but the way she fell, like if she fell like this, she was standing when she fell.
Got that girl out there.
Had to have done this to her. Well, here you go.
that is heavy, thanks.
Lasky. Good Lord.
I was trying to look at the ground, but
So it's going to be our best place to look. See if I got rid of anything. Is it? I think it rained last night. She's not wet though. She was dry.
But then she's also under the tree a little bit.
Yeah.
She's pretty dry.
She's cold. I can like feel it through my gloves. Where's Hoskins at?
That's what I was thinking, I just need to call him.
There's like an opening in the gate right there, that's why.
And then somebody parked over there too.
Okay.
Look, bullet.
Kissing?
Yep.
Where at here? Where's this? Oh, okay. Hold on. I don't want to touch it. No, what we're gonna do, if you screw about it, so then steps on it. And I'm gonna put a stick through it.
Resident 2646 Oak Barrel Drive off Knox Drive.
That's what I'm saying. Someone had to shoot her like that.
Yeah.
Because she fell straight back.
There's blood on her leg.
Yep. Good find. Good job. That's what I'm saying. We don't want to.
I'm trying not to get too close just in case there's like footprints or stuff.
Yeah, we don't want to like walk
Yeah.
around it too much. I just want to look in that trash can. Hey, you know what? Right here, I'm gonna let them know that there's an opening right here. Hey, Lasky. Where's Hoskins? Okay, can someone meet with the complainant and get their 39? We have them walk away.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
Okay, you got crime scene tape, but you don't have, she doesn't have any.
Carry some.
Okay,
Do you have her door?
If we recently had another police car there to get there 39, what does that mean?
Signal 39 is information, so we just wanted to get their names and get their statements.
Okay, I guess the English version of what you said is you asked for Gillespie to send someone to get the complaining witnesses information.
Correct.
And as far as you know, was that
It was.
did you do it yourself?
I did not.
Have somebody, minimum, do a crime scene
Yeah, it's just the two of us right now, so she found a shell casing.
Okay.
Looks like she was shot standing up because she's laying like this. She's cold and stiff. Blood out of her nose, blood out of her ears, back of the head. She doesn't look wet, but she's been there for a minute, but she's 48. And it's, looks like you're gonna be at 27.
Sorry.
What is that?
A homicide.
I think, sorry guys.
Good. What do you ask for?
Sir! Sir! Can you give me a time to go back that way, please? I need you to go back that way, please. Thank you. So that piece of paper is. I'm pretty sure. No ID, no gun, check the trash cans, nothing else really. Is Hawk gonna come out with the crime scene tape or not? Good morning. Well, got jinxed with the homicide call, roll call, and I get to go on. Another one? Yeah.
Double, huh?
That's what it looked like, but I think it was a gunshot. And she fell in the back of her head, so all the blood is through there. Blood.
53 maybe?
No, because the shell casing was all the way right here. Looks like she got shot there.
You tell me not to walk somewhere, I won't.
Just, let me make sure to pay last people quick for him to confirm for me.
Yeah.
Or do we need?
Coming in. We're just having one FD guy. We'll have the rest of the guys. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, just have him stay over there.
You guys are good to stay back, so you guys don't have to come in the crime scene. We just need one person to confirm that they're dead.
Oh, okay.
So,
Gotcha.
but it looks like it's gonna be a homicide, so. Yeah, so we just gotta so you guys don't have to get your names put on crime scene logs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just one. He took the initiative to walk up there first, so his name's going on the list. I'm gonna go grab that real quick so I can get his name. But there are costumes. I don't have any of my stuff. I forget I'm not in my own car. Yep.
Same thing over there.
Yeah, and I think someone's parked in the parking lot, blocking off the rest of that parking lot.
Okay.
Did someone get the 39 for the?
That's what Austin's doing right now.
Okay, cool.
Okay, we're gonna take a little short break. Y'all can go get you something to eat. Okay, what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna go ahead on and skip it a little bit, okay?
I don't have any of my stuff. I forget I'm not in my own car. Yep.
Same thing over there.
Yeah, and I think someone's parked in the parking lot, blocking off the rest of that parking lot.
Okay.
Did someone get the 39 for the...
That's what I'm just doing right now.
Okay, cool.
Okay, all right. I don't have very many questions, but I'm going to start with this one. The part of Gwinnett where Yellow River is found is very close to DeKalb, is that right?
That is correct.
All right. Is all of Yellow River Park located in Gwinnett County?
To my knowledge, I believe so.
Okay. You were the first to arrive, is that right?
That is correct.
And I really couldn't tell from the video, is the sun still, when you arrived, is the sun still rising or has the sun already risen? I can sort of see it sort of light out.
It was very early in the morning, just close to daylight. I want to almost say it was our first call of the day.
Okay, and when the body cam goes on, I can see that the roadway appears to still be sort of wet or damp. Do you recall that?
It was wet, yes.
Okay, good. And I understand that that the decedent was found underneath a tree where there was no grass immediately around her. Is that right?
I believe so.
And what I'm really trying to understand when you arrive, is there still dew on the grass that sort of surrounds the tree?
Yes.
Okay, so there was still dew. Were you able to tell if there were any footprints in the dew, sort of either? Strike that. Here's the question. Were you able to tell if there were any footprints in the dew as you approached the body?
Not that I recall.
The officer that shows the first shell casing with the flashlight where you put down the paper and the twig, that's Officer Rennie, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, and that round that's found by Officer Rennie, which is, I'm gonna say, closer to the decedent's feet, is that fair to say?
It was in front of the body, from the direction of her feet, yes.
Okay, good. Was that round that where Officer Rennie put the flashlight on the round and you put down the paper and the twig, was that round closer to or further than the other round?
Visual estimate, the first one was further away.
Further away, okay. And is it fair to say that between you and Remy and your field training officer that you located both of the rounds, is that right?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
I understand that you had a field training officer and that you were also training Officer Remy. Do I have that right?
No. Lasky was the corporal on shift. She was the third or the second unit that arrived, the third person. I was the FT. I was the training officer for Remy.
Okay, you were the training officer for Remy. Your supervisor was the corporal. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, between the three of you, is it fair to say the three of you found collectively both rounds?
Correct.
Okay. Those are all the questions that I have. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Direct.
Just briefly. Start the video from the beginning, just for a second. That refresh your recollection as to the condition of the road?
Yes, it appears to be partially wet.
It is recrossed.
Does that refresh your recollection about whether the grass itself had dew or did not have dew?
The grass did have dew.
Okay. Was there, and maybe this is a better question, was there enough dew on the grass to determine if there were footprints leading towards or leading away from the decedent that you found underneath the tree?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I can. Was there enough dew on the grass for you to determine if there were footprints leading towards or away from the decedent?
I wouldn't be able to answer that. I didn't find any footprints, if that's what you're asking.
Was anybody looking for any footprints toward or away from the decedent?
When we first arrived on the call for an unknown medical,
Yes or no?
we are suspecting to render aid. So we're not suspecting a crime scene.
Got it. Thank you very much. And thank you, Judge.
Right. Is this witness excused from any further appearance?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Any objection?
No, thank you.
All right, you may step down, please. Who is your next witness?
Abigail Lucy.
Approximate time on that witness? Well, let's get started, and we'll probably take our mid-morning break at some point during this witness's testimony. I would say from the chest area up of the body laying on its back and appears to show evidence of something to the right of the head on the ground that does not appear to be depicted in any of the other photos. So while Mr. Lawrence Lewis, on behalf of the defense, objects to the duplicative nature of the photos, I find that they each depict something different that is not necessarily depicted in the others. And so I overrule the objection, and I will allow all of them to be admitted. Anything for the record, Mr. Lawrence Lewis?
And it may be obvious to the court that they're all
I did.
I guess let me ask a question I should ask before that one is what training or education do you have that allows you to perform your duties with the Gwinnett County Police Department?
I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and a master's degree in criminology. I've also attended over 300 hours of training, and I'm certified by the state as a crime scene technician. And I've also been through a approximately 6-month-long in-house training program with Gwinnett Police Department.
And were all those things basically true at in July of 2021.
Yes,
On the morning of July 28, 2021, were you called to Yellow River Park?
I was.
Can you tell the jury what you did when you got there?
When I arrived, I did a scene walkthrough, which basically is where we go through the scene and search for any evidence that was on the scene at the time. And then we begin to process the scene after that. So for this particular case, it involved photographs, photographing evidence, and photographing the body of the victim. And then other people also come on scene as well and help with different areas of the processing. In addition to those things, we also did a search in the surrounding areas of the park to locate any potential additional evidence that was there. I also collected the evidence that was there and processed it at the scene so it could be transported back to the crime scene unit for further processing in our lab.
What evidence, if any, did you collect there?
I collected 2 fired cartridge casings from the scene, in addition to DNA swabs from those casings and DNA swabs from the blood after the victim was removed.
From the blood on the ground after the victim was removed?
Correct.
Did you, I guess, describe for the jury what the search for evidence would look like?
So in this particular case, I myself, along with an investigator, searched through the immediate area surrounding the victim. In addition to, there was a couple trash cans right next to the area that she was at, so we searched in the trash cans as well. In this case, she was in a park, so it was a large open field and then kind of a wooded area surrounding that. So we called in a pre-recruit class of multiple officers who were in training to come and do a line search where everyone walks in a straight line and searches for evidence along that path. So that was conducted in the field area and then also in the wooded area leading up to the parking lot section to search for any additional evidence that may be present.
What do you, did that search yield anything other than the 2 shell casings that you collected?
It did not.
To show you.
Yes. Do you all want your morning recess at this point? No? All right. We'll just have you step out then for a few minutes while I take up this legal issue. Leave your legal pads. Remember your precautionary instructions.
Exhibit, what the exhibit number is, and whether or not it is a true and accurate depiction of what is contained therein.
Okay. So State's Exhibit 19 is an image of the victim's body where you can see the entirety of her body and a portion of the surrounding area. State's Exhibit 39 is upon the medical examiner investigator had manipulated the body, and I was photographing her back with her shirt lifted and also her legs. State's Exhibit 35 is another image of her in her original position with crime scene evidence markers in place showing the surrounding area that she was in. State's Exhibit 36 is the ground beneath the victim after she had been removed from the scene, including the blood that was left on the ground after her removal. State's Exhibit 21 is depicting the victim's right arm, the right side of her head, her hair, and also some blood on the ground beneath her head. It also shows the defects in the right side of her head. State's Exhibit 37 is a shot of...
Okay, y'all, that's the break, and I'm gonna skip it. Okay. Let me see, where am I? Okay, let me take it back a little bit. Okay, this is the next witness, but let me see, have I reached an hour yet, y'all? Hold on 1 second. No, I haven't. Okay, let's get back to the testimony. Okay.
And did you yourself place the crime scene markers?
I did.
Figure was marked as an admitted in State's Exhibit 25. Describe for me what's the ticket.
Okay. Don't skip it, y'all. Come back for lunch.
For evidence receiving successfully passed the in-house training program for drugs and alcohols.
Is there certification you have to maintain continuously to continue performing your job for GBI?
To continue performing my job, every year I have to pass a proficiency test. And what this test contains is they give me a blind sample of either blood or urine, or sometimes both. And we have to test it to see if certain drugs are present or not. And then we report it to a national agency and get our pass or fail results.
Have you ever been accepted as an expert in the field of forensic toxicology in Georgia courts?
Yes.
Have you ever testified as an expert in forensic toxicology in Georgia courts?
Yes.
About how many times?
In my 20 years of experience, I've testified over 100 times.
Your Honor, I would tag her, Ms. Carter, as an expert in forensic toxicology.
Right, she will be so admitted and tendered as an expert in the field of forensic toxicology.
Can you describe to the jury how biological evidence comes into the GBI crime lab?
There are a few ways we receive evidence. We can receive the evidence from a person physically handing the evidence to our evidence receiving department at the crime lab. They can also come in by the U.S. mail or UPS system, and they can also come in through our lockbox method. And with our lockbox method, usually a person from the submitting agency will bring the evidence in kits, and they will put it into a locker about the size of a high school locker that closes on one side. So once they place the evidence in that locker and close the door, it cannot be opened by anyone else, and it is opened on the other side by our evidence receiving department.
And internally, while maintaining the integrity of the evidence receiving department transports it through GBI to you?
Yes.
Let me ask you this. How are things tracked in the crime lab to identify where they came from and where the results should go to?
So once the evidence receiving department retrieves the evidence, they check the seals to make sure there are no signs of tampering. Once they see there are no signs of tampering, they will then open the kit and inspect what's submitted. In this case, it was blood, urine, and vitreous fluid. So they will also make sure all those seals are in place to make sure there are no signs of tampering. Once they have inspected the evidence and see that nothing has been compromised, they will then enter the evidence into our laboratory information management system, which I will call LIMS for short if I do bring it up again. And once it's entered into our laboratory information management system.
Okay, y'all, I'm gonna skip a little bit. Okay, this is when they took a break, I guess. Okay, let me see where we are at on the minutes, y'all. I didn't pay for so many minutes. Okay, we still got a little time. Okay, let's skip it. Okay.
and spreading out and striking the skin. And so this is characteristic of what I refer to as a medium or intermediate range of fire.
So obviously, Dr. Terry, you have at least a basic working knowledge of how a firearm functions.
Yes, I do. I'm not a ballistics expert, but I'm an expert in terminal ballistics. What bullets do to bodies, or what firearms do to bodies, and the evidence that's deposited on the body that allows me to establish a rough range of fire.
And so in a close or contact wound, you would expect to see more, I don't want to say damage, but let me ask this different way. In a very close or contact wound, what would you expect?
Okay, in a contact range wound of the head, where you have the muzzle of the gun pressed against the head and the gun is discharged, gases come out of the gun, as well as soot, which is basically like smoke, and the gunpowder and the bullet. But the most striking feature that you tend to see in a contact gunshot wound of the head is when the gases come out, they're getting caught or trapped between the skin or the scalp and the underlying bone, and so it produces a tearing of the wound, such that we refer to an contact entrance gunshot wound of the head as typically having a stellate appearance, because it's got a very torn appearance because of the gases getting trapped between the pressing muzzle of the gun, the scalp, and the bone, so it tears the skin. Also, you tend to get soot either around the edges of the wound or deposited in the depths of the wound, and you may see burning of the edges or searing, and that's with a contact range wound. With a close range wound, something other than contact will remove the muzzle of the gun slightly off of the skin. You no longer get the gases being trapped between the bone and the scalp, but you get soot being deposited, and you may get some burning around the edges of the wound or not. But then you also see the particles of gunpowder coming out and striking around the wound. And because it's close, they're not going to be very widely dispersed. So imagine, if you were to shoot, say, salt out of something and how it would spread out the further you get. It's the same sort of principle when you're talking about gunpowder coming out of the barrel of a gun. If it's close, it's not going to have an opportunity to spread out broadly. It's going to be
in that area.
No.
Is there any blood on her earlobe?
No.
Is that partially how you determined that her head was in this position when she received the wound?
Yes. Okay, State Exhibit 46 is the majority of the yellow metal jacket that surrounded that bullet. As I said, the core and the jacket separated. I did recover a small piece at the base of the brain, but this was the majority of the jacket. And so here it is, along with an identification tag with her name, the case number, and my signature. Was the majority of the jacket, and so here it is, along with particulate dirt on the knees and the front of her legs, and it was not there, it was on the backs of her legs.
So everything about this says she had to be laying down when she was shot. Is that fair to say?
Lying down, yes.
Lying down. Sorry.
I'm sorry, my mother taught me English.
It's fine. It's fine. Moments of brevity make all of this possible.
I'm sorry. It's just one of those things.
I've already told the jury opening. Dr. Terry doesn't suffer fools like that. They've already been told that. Let me ask you this question. The bullet enters the right side of her head and stops at the left side of her head. Did gravity, did the ground at all stop the bullet from coming out of her head, or was she actually facing upward and the bullet just sort of naturally stopped on its own?
Okay, yes, the bullet lost momentum traveling through her head. The ground did not stop it. Her head was in the position as we've seen in the scene photographs. There's no bruising or abrasion of the skin to indicate that part of the head was against the ground. And again, just looking at the blood flow, that's the position her head was in.
So we go back. You do the initial external exam, which you've explained took about 60 to 90 minutes. You collect at least the rape kit, and then when do you start the internal exam?
Okay, I did the internal examination the next day, and let me refer to my report. So on Thursday, July 29th, beginning at 12:10 p.m.
And how long did it take?
It probably had been about an hour.
1 hour.
Again, approximate.
I got you. And really, my real question, you probably know this, my real question is, I'm trying to figure out when you may have spoken to Detective David Smith. You may not remember, but when had you spoken to Detective David Smith in relationship to Tori Lang?
Right, I'm not sure exactly. I can't tell from my report. I know from looking at my report he was not there for the internal or the external examinations because I would have put it there. So it was most likely after I had completed the internal examination.
The internal examination, so it would most likely been on sometime on July 29, 2021 in the afternoon or evening?
Probably so. Yes.
Okay, and when you spoke to Detective Smith, do you recall him telling you that the subject of the autopsy had expressed the desire to end her life?
Yes.
Okay, and you included that in your report. That's in your report, is that right?
That is correct. It is in my report.
And of course, I'm trying to understand, would the report have been prepared before you spoke to the detective, such that you had to go back and add that in, or would you have spoken to the detective before you prepared the report?
I spoke to the detective before I prepared the report.
Does the report indicate what time the report was completed?
Yes, I mean, the date I signed it was August 17th of 2021.
Okay, August 17th, so now we got a big gap. In between July 29th, when you finished the internal exam, and 8/17, when the report was finished.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have that right?
Yes, you do.
Would you have spoken with Detective Smith on the 29th, or just sometime before you prepared the report?
Well, I definitely spoke to him sometime before I prepared the report, but most likely did speak to him on the 29th.
Gotcha. July 29th. And that's when he told you that the subject that you had performed the autopsy on had expressed the desire to end her life. Is that right?
That is correct. And in fact, looking at my file, I was also looking to see when I signed the death certificate, because I signed the death certificate right about the same time I completed this report. So I was looking for any additional information that might be available prior to deciding whether or not I could come up with a more definitive manner of death.
All right. Detective Smith, he didn't share with you from whom he had received the information about her desire to end her life, did he?
No, he did not.
All right. I want to get to the muzzle of the gun. When you refer to the muzzle of the gun, you're talking about the very front tip of the gun. Is that fair to say?
That is correct. The end of the gun where the bullet comes out.
All right. And science tells us that the muzzle of the gun was about 10 to 12 inches from Tori's head. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. Now we're talking about a ruler, 10 to 12 inches, right?
Correct. Around a foot. Yes.
Around a foot. So we're talking about the about the same distance my hand is from my head is where the front of the gun would have been. Is that right? So it may have been another inch or two. Is that right?
Correct. I'm looking here. Is that a 12-inch ruler?
Sure. I'm gonna hand it to
Okay.
you so you can look at it in an abundance of caution.
Sure. Okay. Yes, that's a 12-inch ruler, and as you're saying, the muzzle of the gun would be approximately here at the end of the ruler where my finger is.
Right. Does anything about the fact that Tori Lang had the thick braids, is it possible that might change the muzzle distance from 10 inches to 8 inches?
No, I can't imagine it would be closer. As I said, certainly some of the gunpowder is kind of shielded by the braids, but I'm able to get a good vertical diameter. The horizontal diameter is somewhat altered by the hair pattern, but it's I think the diameter of the stippling is about 6 inches, and that puts us around about a foot away.
All right, and I may have missed it when you testified. You got about 6,000 autopsies before you did Tori Lang's autopsy. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right, and with those 6,000 autopsies, you examining the body, you determined that the manner of death was undetermined. Is that right?
That is correct.
All right. You didn't write homicide because you couldn't rule out suicide. Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
Dry blood splatter. That's what I want to talk about next.
Spatter.
Spatter.
Sorry.
S-P-A-T-T.
It's like nails on a chalkboard. I'm sorry.
I've already told them. It's not a problem. I've already told them.
Right.
Dry blood spatter. At 10 muzzle distance, 10 inches, 10 to 12 inches from Tori's head, would you have expected there to be blood on the gun at that distance?
Most likely not, because again, most of the time when we get what's called back spatter, is when you're dealing with a contact wound, and as I said, the tissues get torn because the gas is getting caught between the scalp and the bone, and with the tissue getting torn, we usually get this kind of back spatter. So with the muzzle of the gun being that far away, I really wouldn't expect blood to be thrown a significant distance.
And if a person shoots themselves, if Tori had shot herself, and someone taking the gun out of her hand, is it difficult to take the gun out of the hand of a person that has shot themselves? Is it difficult, let's call it within 10 seconds, to take the gun out of the hand of the person that has shot themselves?
In this case, because of the severing of the brainstem, I wouldn't think so.
Do you have any idea where the dry blood spatter came from?
Well, some possibilities. It's dark. She's bleeding. If there is some touching of the ground and then touching of her, there can be transfer in that sense. If the gun does drop, maybe it winds up in some of the blood that's there. And two, I don't know how much time has elapsed between her sustaining that gunshot wound to the head and her body being touched. So again, one of the things I even considered was, we see flies in some of the photographs. There are flies there. Could some of the blood transfer that we're seeing, could it have been imparted by flies moving around? Some of these areas look a bit too big for that, but that's something I am thinking about. How this occurred. So these are things I'm wondering about. Is there touching of the ground and blood then getting transferred from the pooling of the blood that's coming out of her head and then her being touched?
Science tells us it's most likely that the gun at some point in time touched her blood, and that may be how the blood got transferred to her inner thigh.
I mean, that's a possibility. I can't say for sure that that's what happened, but looks like something with kind of a rounded, somewhat angulated edge has come in contact with that thigh. Could it be the firearm? I say that's a possibility. Could it be something else? Sure, but it would have to be consistent with what I'm seeing there.
And what you know that you can testify under oath to in front of the jury is that the dry blood spatter is not any sort of injury. It's spatter from somewhere else. Is that fair to say?
That is correct. That's blood that's been transferred from somewhere else.
You measured Tori's height and weight. Is that fair to say?
That is.
She was just under 6 feet tall?
Yes, she was 5'10".
All right, and you have her at 237 pounds. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, yeah. BMI of 34, is that correct?
That is correct.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Dr. Terry. Thank you. Thank you, Judge.
Correct.
Dr. Terry, the fluids that are collected and the swab that are collected, be they urine, blood, vitreous fluid, are those samples sent to GBI for testing?
Yes, they are.
And for example, of those fluids sent to GBI for testing in this case?
Yes, they were.
You know what samples were sent to GBI?
Yes, I do. Okay, sure. We got blood from the heart, urine, and vitreous fluid from the eye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, are we excusing Dr. Terry from any further appearance?
Yes, sir.
All right, and Dr. Terry, if you would be so kind to hand that back to me as well.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm not sure, but you may be needed with Judge Mason, but all right, check where you are next needed. All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, please call your next witness.
Eric Perkins.
Yes.
Okay, commercial, y'all. What y'all thinking? What y'all thinking? All right now. It's getting good now. That's a shame that we had to see this like this. Let me see who they about to call next, y'all. Get somebody on up him for y'all.
Of the footpath. Located 2 shell casings near the body as well.
Had those previously been marked by other officers?
They had.
So, armed with this information, how at this point do you begin investigating what happened to Tori?
At this point, we wanted to identify who Tori was. At that point, we didn't know who she was. There was no vehicles matching a female with that description in the parking lot. There were no papers or ID or anything around the body that would help us to identify her. So we eventually used the tattoos that the victim had and released those to the media. We were contacted by the family.
After you were contacted by the family, were you able to identify Tori?
We were.
After you now knew who she was, what was your next steps?
The next steps that we took was speaking with the family, gathering information from them on any history.
Hold on for 1 second, y'all. Hate to interrupt y'all, but let me see how many minutes I have to go before it says a minute. I got a little bit more time. Are y'all enjoying the court? I am.
That she may have anyone that she would have spoken to recently, problems she would have had with anyone, and speaking to those people, looking for cameras and things in the area, looking for vehicles that may have been in the area at that time, and speaking to neighbors that live near the park, just anyone that we could find that might have any information.
And whom else other than the family did you speak to in the aftermath of this?
I spoke to several friends of the victim.
At any point, did you speak to the defendant?
I did.
At what point do you recall speaking to the defendant?
I believe the first time I spoke with him was on July 29th. After speaking with the victim's mother, she indicated to me that he was her best friend and could possibly have some information. And so I reached out to him that day.
And where did you make contact with him?
I called him from my desk at police headquarters.
Did he tell you anything about what had happened to Tori?
He explained to me that he was not sure what had happened to her or how that happened. He had just explained that she had come to his house earlier that same night.
Did he said she came to his house? Did he give you a time when she came to his house?
I believe he just said it was later at night. I don't know that he gave me an exact time.
Did he give you any information about or tell you anything about what he claimed she said when she was there?
Sorry. He claimed that she was talking about committing suicide and that she was asking him to help her do that. And he stated that he refused to help her do that, and she eventually left he stated that she wanted to go find someone else to do it since he wasn't going to help her.
As part of your investigation, did you find out whether or not Tori had a vehicle?
I did.
What vehicle did you find out that Tori had?
That she was driving a Nissan Versa.
Did you get a color?
It was like a light blue Nissan Versa.
Was that Nissan Versa present at the scene?
It was not.
After speaking with her family, did you believe her to be in possession of it immediately before her death?
I did, yes.
Was that vehicle ever located?
It was.
Where was it located?
That was located on August 1st of 2021. I was contacted by DeKalb County Park Ranger who located the vehicle at the Hidden Acres Nature Preserve in DeKalb County.
You said part of your search was looking for cameras that might have captured anything related to the case. Did you find any?
We did not know.
Did you speak with Mary Perkins?
I did.
What was your conversation with Mary Perkins?
On the day that we went out to speak with Austin in person, I noticed that there was a Ring camera on Mrs. Perkins' door in the same hallway. And I knocked on the door and her son answered, and he put me in contact with her and asked if she could send me the Ring videos from the night of the incident.
And did she send you Ring videos from that night?
She did.
How many?
I believe there were 4 or 5.
Did they have timestamps on them, or did she give you times at which they occurred?
There were timestamps on them.
What did you see in the videos?
On the first video, I saw the victim arriving at 10:37 p.m., knocking on the defendant's door. They walked down to what he explained to me. They went down to the car. He was down there for about 10 minutes, and then 10 minutes later, there's another video of him coming back. Then there's another video at 12:39 a.m., which is about an hour later of the defendant leaving, and then he returned again at 1:41 a.m.
Publish 15 already been admitted.
Is this just video with no audio? Okay, is that audio, well, can you flesh out through the witness who I'm expected to hear on the audio so that I can determine if I need to give a limiting instruction?
I don't think you need to, but that's fine.
Was there any conversation heard on any of the videos?
The video where the victim arrives, there was the victim and the defendant were heard speaking in the hallway.
What was said between them?
The victim knocks on the door. When the defendant comes to the door, she seems a little excited, and the victim or the defendant asks her, what's going on? What's wrong? Why are you talking like that? You're scaring me.
Right, so Mr. Lawrence Lewis, you've seen the footage. I have not. You are not requesting any type of limiting instruction?
Yes, and yes, I'm not requesting.
All right, very good. So you may publish B, C, D, and E. If you can identify which one you're publishing at each time.
This is 15.
Hold on for 1 second, y'all. 1 second. Sorry about this. Hold on for 1 second. Gotta get